Michigan got punched in the mouth at Oklahoma this weekend. And did you notice the offensive explosion around the Big Ten? I did. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And we ask you to share, like, and follow because that helps us out too. Plus, you can hype us on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So, Michigan, Oklahoma. Quarterback John Mateer just toyed with the Wolverines. And the Big Ten scored 811 points this weekend, if my math is good, plus 4 shutouts. That's 0 in those 4 games. So we have that plus our top 10 Big Ten observations at the end. An impressive list this weekend. But it's been a while since I've seen another team, especially a non-conference team, manhandle Michigan at the line of scrimmage. But that's exactly what Oklahoma did on Saturday night by winning 24-13 in just the second all-time meeting between these two schools. And Oklahoma's quarterback, John Mateer, took full advantage of the whole situation by doing whatever he wanted to do. He just toyed with the Wolverines defense at times. He threw for 271 yards and a touchdown. He ran for another. In fact, he was the Sooners' leading rusher by a lot. He had 19 carries for 79 yards and 2 more touchdowns there. Now, also, Brent Venables. He's the head coach at Oklahoma, longtime defensive coordinator at Clemson, just a defensive guru. He's back to calling the defensive plays this year. I learned on the broadcast, if you watched it, Brent Venables plays scout team quarterback so he can train his defense what to do. That's impressive. I don't know if a lot of coaches or coordinators, for that matter, that do that, but they did. And his defense held Michigan to 288 yards. Now, running back Justice Haynes ran for 125 of those yards on 19 carries, but 75 of them came on that much-needed first play of the second half. And freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood only completed 9 passes on the night for 142 yards, and 44 of those came on that throw to Donovan McCulley. And actually, McCulley made a fantastic catch. The ball was underthrown, made the catch behind the defender's helmet and snagged it in. So if you take away Haynes' 75-yard run and McCauley's 44-yard catch, Michigan only put up 169 yards of offense on the night. Now, Oklahoma, by themselves, helped keep Michigan in this game. A couple of turnovers, an interception. That muff punt was one of the turnovers I'm talking about that kept Michigan going. And there were times that I thought Michigan's defense kind of looked like the old Michigan. Like, I think they're going to get there with Wink Martindale. He had to turn up the blitz count there in the fourth quarter, kind of a high risk, high reward to just do something. And, you know, the frustrating part for Michigan was they got a lot of hands on some deflected passes or overthrown balls, and they could have had another interception or 2 on the night. And they just missed on a couple. So I think it's there. It'll come along. But, you know, they also had to play the first half without perhaps their best defensive player and linebacker, Jayshawn Barham, who was tossed for a questionable hit in week 1 versus New Mexico. Then he had to sit out of a half of a suspension here. And things definitely improved when he was on the field in the second half. But he did suffer a lower body injury. It looked like shin or ankle late in the game and was helped off. We'll probably have more information on that today regarding his situation moving forward on his injury status. Meanwhile, Bryce Underwood, he played in his first high-profile road environment, and look, he looked calm. He didn't look like the noise bothered him at all. But I can't tell if he's holding back or if Michigan's holding it back with ultra-conservative play calling. It's probably a little bit of both. I'd like to see him move more. He is a tremendous athlete. And he seemed a little more dangerous rolling out, although I got to admit the Oklahoma defense, their ends did a great job of bookending the Michigan offense all night long. But I think there's some possibility there for Michigan's offense if they can get Underwood on the move a little bit, rolling out a little bit more. And I'd like to see a few controlled quarterback runs. I think he ran once for 8 yards. I mean, one big play that I can think of ran for 8 yards. And I think the week before, only one running play comes to mind. I think they should do that a little bit more. Now, I know you don't want to expose him to risk and getting hurt, but I think he's such a strong athlete. I think he should run a little bit more. That'll probably help out his passing game as well. But he's had a couple of games under his belt now, and I'm going to be curious to gauge his development now, because now the next thing that's coming up, Sharon Moore, his head coach, now has to sit out for 2 weeks for the self-imposed suspension from Spygate. It's kind of weird. He started 2 games, got to coach at his alma mater and lost, and now he's going to be gone for 2 weeks. Well, he's got this young freshman quarterback who just turned 18 last month. Got to try and figure some things out. And again, Sharon Moore can have no contact with the team for the next 2 weeks. It's much different than the Jim Harbaugh suspensions, where he coached all week, did film, did meetings, and then just didn't coach on Saturdays. This is the full 2 weeks. Sharon Moore is going to be on sabbatical. He's got to disappear. What does that do to your young quarterback? I think that's a big question. Probably talk about that more this week on Locked On Big Ten. They host Central Michigan on Saturday. Then they play Nebraska on the road before Sharon Moore returns for the Wisconsin game. Michigan fan, I would love to hear your comments and your assessment on the Wolverines situation as they stand right now. All right. Look, I think there's some potential there, but I think there's also some limits to the explosiveness of this offense. Maybe if we tweak some things with Underwood as he gets more comfortable, I think maybe you could see some improvement and maybe some more explosive plays downfield. Maybe. Or maybe it's not there. I know they've recruited a lot of nice 4-star wide receivers coming in, but they're not there yet. So something to consider. While Michigan's offense struggled, Ohio State's did not. They put up 70 against Grambling. 70-0. As a matter of fact, one of those 4 shutouts in the Big Ten. Julian Sayin had 4 touchdown passes. In fact, he set an Ohio State record for completions to start a game with 16, finished 18 of 19 for 306 yards. All that in the first half, by the way. Ohio State scored on 8 of the first 9 drives. They didn't punt till midway through the fourth quarter. But the good thing about Sayin and the big lead and taking on a team like Grambling, your other guys can get some playing experience. Lincoln Keenholz played quarterback in the third quarter. Tavian St. Clair played in the fourth quarter as well. Cardell Tate, back-to-back weeks, spectacular highlight catches for a touchdown. This was a 13-yarder. Really had to dive backward for it and reach out and get it there on that left sideline. I think the one last week against Texas was more impressive, but I don't know. They were both highlight reel worthy. They might even make our top 10 Big Ten observations of the week. Last week versus Texas, Ohio State had 208 yards of offense against Grambling. They had that in the first 9 plays, 200 yards. Bo Jackson ran 9 times for 108 yards and a touchdown. Jeremiah Smith, 5 catches, 112 yards, including an 87-yard touchdown, one of his 2 scores, and Caleb Downs had an interception. Ohio State was not the only team to score 70. Washington did it too. Washington beat UC Davis 70-10. Jonah Coleman getting some Heisman hype now. 2 back-to-back spectacular games. Remember week 1, 177 yards. This week, 15 carries, 111 yards. But in those 15 carries, he scored 5 times. 5 touchdowns, career high. Yeah, some Heisman hype there. On the night, the Huskies ran for 324 yards. Denzel Boston, by the way, the wide receiver, also had his first career punt return for a touchdown, a 78-yarder. He said he never even did that in high school. So those are some big headlines of the day. It's the Big Ten. We got 18 teams. There were a lot more big headlines. We're going to get to it. While Ohio State and Washington scored 70, Oregon, Nebraska, and Minnesota came this close, scoring in the 60s. But I want to know if the Ducks ran it up on Mike Gundy for his comments last week. I'll dive into that a little further. Plus, we'll look at the rest of the Big Ten. All that is coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. if you're in the business of fixing stuff and repairs and construction, you got to have supplies. If you don't have supplies, you have idle time. You're wasting money. Supply House. Go to supplyhouse.com. They'll take care of you. You can order parts for just about anything right at your doorstep tomorrow. 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items for most of the trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects or just wasting time. And their industry-leading customer service is always there to get your blind side covered. Also, their trademark perks, the trade master perks. They have priority shipping, dedicated support, and they just make this whole process smooth. So join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support line. So visit supplyhouse.com and sign up for free and use their promo code SHColleges5, number 5, SHColleges number 5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Talk about all these games. Do you want to go to a game this week? Your friends are going, hey, let's go. That was exciting. Let's go check it out. All right, you get the tickets. Now you're like, oh, is that pressure? No, it's easy with Game Time. With college football here, tailgates, rivalries, you feel that buzz you can only feel in the stands, just the charge of energy. So you can actually get tickets and be a part of the game itself. Use Game Time. It's got a simple app, and it gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, no surprise fees. Do you know you can get to a college football game for as little as $25 in most cases? And they've got a view of the seat of the ticket you're about to buy before you couple of taps and you're good. You got your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, let's use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege. I'll spell it LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thanks for checking out Locked On Big Ten and making us your first listen each and every day. Of course, we're free and available for everybody. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, and you're with us every day, just like we're here every day. And share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com as well. So, other big scoring games. Oregon destroyed Oklahoma State, 69-3. Remember, Mike Gundy and Dan Lanning, they had the soundbite war earlier this week about, well, Oregon spends $40 million on its players. Woe is us, Mike Gundy. I mean, he did used to have a guy by the name of T. Boone Pickens, the oilman, before he died, that poured a lot of money into their facilities and their program. But then now it's Nike and Oregon's turn, right? Dante Moore, 266 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And by the way, that was the biggest loss of Mike Gundy's career. Been there for 20 years, 69-3. The spread was 28.5. They lost by 66, right? 9 players scored for Oregon, 631 yards of total offense. Noah Whittington had a 59-yard touchdown on the second play of the game. Decoria Moore had a 65-yard catch of the second drive. But the coolest part for Oregon is they had back-to-back pick sixes on consecutive passes in that third quarter. Jerry Mixon had a 26-yarder and Peyton Woody a 30-yarder, taking it to the house. Now, Oregon has outscored its first 2 opponents, 128-16. Montana State last week, Oklahoma State this week. Impressive. Also impressive. Nebraska, 68-0 over Akron. Dylan Raiola, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. It's the most points the Huskers have scored a game since 2007. Most yards in a game since 2014 with 728 yards. It's her first shutout since 2009. Emmett Johnson, 140 on the ground with 2 touchdowns. Corey Barney Jr. with 7 catches and 132 yards. And the Huskers have now won 8 straight non-conference games. That's their longest streak since 2001. Not quite the streak that Maryland has going, but which we'll talk about that later, by the way. Minnesota also a 60-burger on the scoreboard, 66-0 over Northwestern State and FCS school. John Nestor picked off the first pass on the first offensive play of the game. In fact, he had 2 interceptions. He had a pick 6. Minnesota had 5 first quarter touchdowns. Minnesota had 484 yards. There was some inclement weather. They just called it. 6 minutes to go. They said, you know what? We're done. We don't need to come back out here and play. 60. They might have scored 70 if they had another 6 minutes. Grant Washington, 20 carries, 126 yards. 10 players had carries, which is good because I thought they used Darius Taylor too much against Buffalo the week before. And unfortunately, he pulled up with a hammy. He missed 7 games with a hamstring in 2023. I hope that's not the case here for him. He's one of my favorite players of the Big Ten. USC didn't quite get to 60, but hey, they scored 73 the week before. They beat Georgia Southern 59-20. Georgia Southern's coach is Clay Helton, former coach of the Trojans. Not a very welcoming homecoming for him. Jade Maeva, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 412 yards on the day. Wayman Jordan, 167 yards and a touchdown. Makai Lemon, 4 catches, 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both came in the first quarter. They were both long, 62 and 74-yard streaks. Just boom, gone. See ya. Hi, Georgia Southern. But the highlight of the day is Jacoby Lane's one-handed touchdown catch. He just turned his trail hand and he just grabbed it, Odell Beckham style. It was impressive. The Carlos Nicholson had an interception. Now, I do have a note of concern for USC fans because it was Georgia Southern, not the most powerful school they'll see on their schedule. And USC gave up 377 yards of offense. Georgia Southern. It's too much. I mean, we talk about the defense of USC a lot, whether they've improved over the last 2 years. They got to button that up. Michigan State against Boston College, double overtime. They win 42-40. Remember last year, Boston College edged Michigan State 23-19 with a late touchdown in the red bandana game. In that game, Aiden Childs had 3 interceptions. It was in the rain. And Aiden Childs was turning the ball over a lot at that point. What a difference a year makes, right? Because now he had a career-high 4 touchdown passes, and he ran for a 3-yard touchdown and threw the winning 2-point conversion in double overtime. And a nice conversion pass to Omari Kelly. Good job by Michigan State to get that one. Also, Penn State, they get the shutout, 34-0 over Florida International. Kind of a slow start. Now it was a kind of an icky day, a lot of rain. They got Villanova next, and then they got the big game against Oregon. Drew Aller on the day, 19-33, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Katron Allen, 16 carries, 144 yards, and a touchdown. Linebacker Tony Ross had 10 tackles. Alonzo Ford had an interception, but this is 2 weeks in a row where Penn State's leaving money on the table. They're not converting drives and leaving some points out there. And these are against, group of 5 defenses. So I think we got some work to do offensively, and maybe they'll rise to the level of their competition. Illinois went to Duke. Remember Manny Diaz, speaking of Penn State, he was a defensive coordinator once upon a time as a head coach at Duke. Illinois wins 45-19. Remember Hank Beatty had the amazing game last week for the Fighting Illini with 5 catches, 108 yards, the 69-yard punt return, 133 punt return yards to break Red Grange's 102-year-old record. Well, in a game that Illinois had a 1-point lead at the half, they took off. Beatty, another big day. He rushed for a 25-yard touchdown, had 8 more catches, 128 more yards there. He's pretty impressive. Luke Altmaier, 296 yards with 3 touchdowns. Duke had 5 turnovers. Duke had a punt muffed. Duke had 2 players on the field with the same number. That's a penalty. Can't do that. Tanner Heckel had an interception for the Fighting Illini. They'll have a big game in a couple weeks coming up against Indiana. Indiana, by the way, beat Kennesaw State 56-9. So people weren't happy with the victory margin over Old Dominion. It was a 27-14 win in week 1. Much more impressed with the win over Kennesaw State, 56-9. Fernando Mendoza had 4 touchdown passes, 3 of them to Elijah Surratt. No turnovers, only 3 penalties. That's Kurt Cignetti football right there. Omar Cooper Jr. had a 75-yard end-around touchdown. Indiana had an edge in yardage, 593 yards to 271. Alberto Mendoza, Fernando's brother, who was already at Indiana before his brother transferred there, through his first career touchdown. Yeah, they're both quarterbacks, and they back each other up. We have the Cyhawk. Didn't go well for Iowa. 2 years in a row, got beat by a late kick. 16-13, the final score. Kirk Ferentz stuck on win 205. He did not pass Woody Hayes. He'll have a chance to do that next week against UMass. Should get it done there. But the field goal with 152 to go. And now Iowa State has won this 2 straight times and 3 of the last 4 years. But the first time the Cyclones have won the Cyhawk at home since 2011. Still concerned about the Hawkeyes passing game. Mark Gronowski only had 44 yards last week against an Albany defense. Saturday, only had 83 yards. There's no passing game there. It's a problem. Rutgers is an explosive juggernaut offensively now. They beat Miami of Ohio 45-17. This is after their 34-31 win over Ohio last week. So they're just in shootout. 79 points in 2 games for Rutgers. 8th in Kaliak Manis, 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Ian Strong, his second consecutive 100-yard receiving day, this time 9 for 166 and 2 touchdowns. And Bo Maskew with an interception and a 68-yard return. He didn't score, but he got 68 yards on the return. Wisconsin, I was very concerned. They beat Middle Tennessee State 42-10, but this was like 14-10 midway through the third. Billy Edwards has been out. Danny O'Neill is in. They finally turned it on. Trek Kekahuna had a 61-yard reverse for a score, kind of broke things open a little bit. Lance Mason, 7 for 102 yards and a touchdown. Defense had 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. And Emilio Agard had an interception. The reason I'm concerned here, for the first 6 quarters of the season, they just have not been able to get anything going offensively. They got Alabama next, so we'll see. Purdue, a 34-17 win over Southern Illinois. And Barry Odom, the first coach to start out 2-0 since 1916 at Purdue. They got USC next. I'm intrigued by this game now. They got USC, Notre Dame, and Illinois. Those are their next 3. But Purdue is sitting at 2-0. Ryan Brown had a couple of touchdowns and a pick. Devin Maccabee, 32 carries, 126 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And both of those came out of Wildcat. UCLA continues to struggle. Disappointing home loss against Utah. Now they lose to UNLV on the road. Dan Mullen's team, 30-23. This is the first time UNLV has beaten a Big Ten team in 22 years. UNLV was up, though, 23-0 in this game in the second quarter before UCLA started chipping away. Nico had 1 touchdown to interception. This game took 3 hours and 52 minutes because there were 27 penalties for 258 yards. Yikes. And let's not forget our Friday teams. Northwestern got its first win of the season with a 42-7 win over Western Illinois. Coming off their loss to Tulane. Preston Stone, who had 4 interceptions at Tulane, threw for 245 yards and 3 touchdowns. Cam Porter, 91 on the ground and a touchdown. And Maryland beat Northern Illinois Friday night, 20-9. Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame last year, right? Malik Washington continues to impress as a freshman quarterback. He was freshman of the week last week. He threw for 254 yards and 2 more touchdowns, including a 42-yard scoring strike to Shalik Knotts on a 4th down play. Now, I alluded to this earlier. Maryland has now won 17 straight non-conference games. It's the longest winning streak of that kind in college football. Very, very impressive. A lot of impressive things going on. As a matter of fact, on Mondays, we always recap it with my top 10 Big Ten observations of the weekend. I'll have that for you next, right here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, question for you. If you want to reminisce a little bit, you college football fans out there, remember when you would go to games, the gear you would wear? What game would you go back to and what hat would you wear? I'm talking about the game. And I'll tell you what, they sent me these. I cover the Big Ten, but I am an Indiana grad. And so they sent me these 2 beautiful hats, home and away, with the old school stitching on there, nicely fitted on the back. The game. Get your school merchandise with them. Get the hats just like that, with the old school vintage styles that we wore in the 80s and the 90s. And the prices are still the same now. Great deals. If you used my code Locked On, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. So head on down to thegamecaps.com, thegamecaps.com, and grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use the code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. All right, it is time now for our top 10 Big Ten, I guess mine are top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. If you're audio only, I'll put it on just a list one at a time. I usually say that I don't rank these. I just kind of list them, group them. This is kind of, I think I've ranked them here this week. I'm going to go full screen so you can check this out. At number 10, I want to put Nebraska's Dylan Raiola with 364 yards and 4 touchdowns versus Akron. They're really clicking. Let's see if they can keep that up as the competition gets a little tougher each and every week. John Nestor from Minnesota, the pick 6 on the first play from scrimmage against Northwestern State. Wanted to throw that in there. If you watch us, if you're an everydayer and you see the segment every Monday that we do, I love defensive plays, interceptions, sacks, all that kind of stuff. But plenty of offense here today with all these high-scoring games in the Big Ten this weekend. Wisconsin's Trek Kekahuna. I mentioned the 61-yard reverse that he scored on against Middle Tennessee State. That was a nail-biter for the Badgers. This play helped pad the lead and get things going in the right direction for the Badgers. Again, Alabama next. Barry Odom, Purdue. First Boilermaker coach to start out at 2-0 since Cleo A. O'Donnell in 1916, everybody. Over 100 years ago. Congratulations. Hank Beatty, he's got to be on this list. He's on this list every week right now. Big game against Duke. Scored on a 25-yard run, had 8 catches, 128 yards. Doing a great job. You know what? He might, if he keeps this up, he's got to get some Heisman hype. Nobody's talking about that. Tremendous. Aiden Childs, Michigan State. I like the fact that he had the 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2-point conversion, wins in double overtime, because last year against Boston College, it was a 3-interception game. So we went from 3-interception game last year to a clean game and a double overtime win against Boston College. Carnell Tate, he's making our list every week with these highlight film touchdown catches. Had one against Texas. And in fact, he was top of our list last week. This week makes number 4 with the touchdown grab against Grambling. It was still pretty spectacular. Also, Jacoby Lane, he gets the catch of the week, though. The USC Trojan receiver, the one-handed catch versus Georgia Southern. Incredible. Look it up on Twitter or the internet there and go ahead and Google it. It's spectacular if you missed it. And number 2, the Oregon defense. And I know we had 4 other teams with shutouts. Oregon only gave up 3 points in their 66-point win over Oklahoma State, but how often do you see back-to-back pick 6s on consecutive passes? That's what they did. Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe should have made this number 1. No, I can't, because number 1, I went with Washington's Jonah Coleman. He only had 15 touches. He scored 5 touchdowns versus UC Davis. He has had 2 incredible games back-to-back weeks. And his name better start showing up on some Heisman watch lists if he can keep this up. And we talked about him all summer long. I said Washington was the team to watch, the up-and-coming team this year. And he's the guy that helps them there on offense. So he's always good. He's always solid. So there we have it. Our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. Did I leave any out? Well, I know I did, because I put down about 12 to 15 things. That I condensed it down to 10. But maybe I left your favorite player or team off the list. Just let me know. Hit me up in the comments section. All right. Would love to hear from you on that. All right. I can't believe Monday's in the books already. We're rolling to a Tuesday. We'll have Tuesday tweets. Send me one. In the meantime, we got you covered for all things Big Ten. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. That would be fantastic if you joined us. Join the club. We're here every single day. And if that little share arrow, if you can share this video with somebody that you know loves Big Ten, let them know we're here. Still a lot of people discovering us each and every day. Invite you for a second listen. Check out a taped version of our live broadcast from Saturday night, covering the entire Big Ten right after the Michigan-Oklahoma game. And also another big moment for Locked On college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV presenting the college football kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and college star Jesse Holley and Locked On's local experts. The college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch the college football kickoff every Thursday night throughout the season only on Fire TV. That'll do it for us. We're rolling into week 3. Thanks for joining us, and I can't wait till we meet again tomorrow for Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll talk to you next time.